When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The ping of a grandfather clock may sound comforting, but coming from your engine, it's bad news. Pinging is an abnormal form of combustion in your engine cylinders that causes shock waves which produce that metallic sound. Increasing the octane of gas to reduce pinging's like taking cough drops for bronchitis. The symptoms mask, but the underlying problems and potential damage to sensors, emission systems, and even the onboard computer just increases. So heed that little ping before it becomes the gong of expensive repairs. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time right here on your local AM and or FM station, and also at Watch Bobby Live. I'll wave at the camera. We are in full HD, and it's really kind of cool to be able to broadcast and video cast this program worldwide. And we do get calls. Got a call from Afghanistan one day from someone in the military, and during the conversation we heard this shroom, and he said, gotta go. And this is a true story. And then later on he called us back, and it was one of those handheld missiles that someone had fired, and he was in a really dangerous place. I don't know what he was doing on the phone calling us, but I did learn later on that he's a car guy, and I guess you can take the car guy out of the country, but You can put them in another country, but you can't stop them from wanting to talk about cars. Me as well. So 888 Car Clinic. Jan will take your call, put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Power Frame Grid Technology, engineered with confidence. Power Frame Grid Technology is designed to minimize corrosion, and I have a story about that a little later in the program, that leads to battery failure. Trust a battery with Power Frame Grid Technology for true strength start after start. Learn more at powerframe.com. Stay tuned for your car questions and a conversation or two about automobiles. Like us, you'll love us. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. Choose a battery with Power Frame Grid Technology inside. It's engineered with confidence to keep you going longer. That means you can trust your battery with Power Frame to be there start after start. Visit Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest for a battery with Power Frame Grid Technology, or learn more at powerframe.com. Diablo Sport tuning systems boost your vehicle's power without popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. NHRA racer Bart Tobener has used Diablo Sport since 2001 and currently has an Intune i2 on his daily driver. Bart, the first to eclipse the 7-second mark with an S550 Mustang, knows horsepower. Says Bart, I'll continue to use Diablo as they lead the way in aftermarket handheld and tuning products. Drive to DiabloSport.com. We recently had an '08 Ford Expedition come into the shop, and the owner was complaining about an awful burning smell after driving the car any distance. After giving the vehicle a once-over, we found leaking valve cover gaskets which were allowing oil to run down onto the exhaust manifold. The entire engine bay was also covered with a fine film of oil from a bad power steering hose. We needed to clean everything first so we could accurately diagnose and fix the problem quickly. We used Berryman B33 engine degreaser and sprayed it onto a cool engine. We let it sit for a short time, then rinsed it off, leaving everything clean and oil-free. Once we replaced the hose and the valve cover gaskets, the Ford was ready to get back on the road. Berryman B33 engine degreaser was perfect for this job. The fast spray-on, rinse-off cycle saves time and conserves water. The product's also safe to use. Its biodegradable formula contains no harmful phosphates, solvents, abrasives, or VOCs. Learn more about Berryman B33 degreaser and other great Berryman products at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast. I thought I had my mic pretty well squared away. I did, but it's always that last little bit where you have to move it around. Sometimes it gets in the way, and you'll hear me bump it occasionally. And it's like I'm Greek descent, so for me to talk with my hands is just normal. And I have some Italian friends as well. Of course, a lot of people talk with their hands, yada, yada, yada. So let's get started. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Gas prices are up as compared to this time last week in all 10 of the 10 markets regions across the country. Gas prices are up in all 10 regions of the country, same as compared to this time last year. So the highest is on the West Coast at $2.84 a gallon. And let's go from the West Coast to the East Coast and then go a little north, or a lot north, and go to New York. And we'll put Lee on the air. Lee was first in, so he's going to be first up. And folks, Miss Jan will take your call at 888-CAR-CLINIC. I'll make it easier for you. 888-227-2546. Lee, welcome to Bobby Likis Car-Clinic. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Just fine, thank you. What's the weather like in New York today?
Rain, but other than that, beautiful.
Well, I'll tell you.
I do have to say up front.
It's
been a long time since I've been down there, and I kind of miss Rosie O'Grady's at the end of the alley bar.
Hey, cool. I'm glad you mentioned that, because the 16th of this month, and folks, this gentleman is talking about Seville Quarter that was started 50 years ago, the 16th of this month. So what's that, 4 days from now? And they're going to have a huge party, and it's going to be, everyone, because we've all been to Rosie O'Grady's. And folks, what Lee is talking about, the place, it's a bar. The gentleman was in the military, Bob Snow, and he said, I love Pensacola, and he wanted to start a bar. So he took an old warehouse and created the Rosie O'Grady's, and he had peanut shells on the floor. And I don't know, Lee, if that was that way when you were there or not, but when I first came, when I first came to Pensacola, that's the way it was. And, when I walked in, I said, ooh, this place is really filthy. But that's just the way, like a barn, And there are 5 contiguous bars there. And it's just a pillar of our community. And hats off now, when Bob Snow left Pensacola and went to Tampa or Orlando and started Church Street Station, that MSN, I think, bought out, or the Nashville company bought out later on. Then they closed down our facility here for a few years, and then Wilmer Mitchell, who was Bob Snow's attorney and friend, bought it and opened it. And the Cetroma Club had a big night there, and we all went. I say we, the whole community turned out for the first time it had been open. I have a story about that I can't share on the air, but it was something that yours truly, I did a really, really bad thing. I didn't hurt anybody, but I almost incited a riot, having fun. When you're having a good time, sometimes you're having a lot of fun, but those around you are not. You ever been there, Lee?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. And my sister has a story that would match yours. We were all there as a family. I'm not going to go into it, but her chair interlocked with a young naval officer's chair, and her husband was getting a little upset.
Oh. Well, we won't get into my story, but we, maybe at a later time, a later date, or a little later in the program. But right now, what can I do for you? And thanks for calling. Nice chatting with you, and going back through some history and also some futures, because Seville Quarter, Wilmer Mitchell and his family now run that facility, Lee, and Jack Williams is the general manager, and all the, now their names escape me now. Buck Mitchell, Buckmeister, I called him. They just do a fantastic job, and it's going to be a lot of fun this Thursday. So for those of you in Pensacola and surrounding, if you're going to be in the area Thursday night, you can check it out and just go to SevilleQuarter.com. I'm sure it is. Lee, what can I do for you?
Okay, the ultimate question is, I actually have 2 if there's time for the second one.
Sure.
But the first one is, will this car need to be chip tuned? All right. The background of it is, my son in Omaha just bought a 92 Camaro from my sister. Without knowing any history on it, my sister had only put 2,000 miles on it. Well, It was actually her husband's, but when my son was checking it out, I had him I'm old school, so I had him do various things like pull the dipstick, make sure there was no metallic,
Sure.
It was clean.
Great.
Run his finger under the valve cover, it was clean. Overwhelmingly clean, and this car's got 122,000 miles on it. And it looked completely stock, but it had a heavy rumble to it, like the motor's been beat. I had him check the exhaust, and he says it's got heavy residue with fuel that he can smell.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I had him do, I'm thinking this car's been played with. I had him back it out of the garage and line lock it and see how far the tach would go. And it went to 3,500 before he got nervous.
Wow.
So somebody stuck a 3,500 stall speed converter in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that, without, again, knowing the history, that somebody put a 383 stroker in this thing and left it stock and to make it a sleeper. With all that in mind, thinking of that exhaust and how rich it is it possible that this thing needs to be chip tuned to bring that up to the configuration of the stroker? And it still has, as far as we know, the markings show that it still has the 194 head. It doesn't have the 202 power pack camel hump head.
Well, number one, Lee. Number one, it's a '92 model, so you cannot. The super chip will not go back to a '92 model. It's a '99 and later model. Of course, in 1996, all cars came with. And there were a few earlier because they were phased in, but by 1996, all cars had the OBD2, or second OBD, onboard diagnostics computer control unit, generation 2, which means that you can get into the system, which you cannot do on the prior years. Now, we did take the ECMs out, the electronic control modules, and put chips in. But here's the bottom line. With this particular vehicle, all of the things that you talked to me about, including the 3,500 stall speed, definitely, because 2,000 RPM is about it for stall speed on a normal natural car, a stock car. So I'm with you.
Right.
There's some modifications. It's got a different stall speed converter. I would also be curious as to what rear gear it had in it, because if someone's got to go to the expense and the trouble and the hobby-driven mindset of installing a stroker engine, if it does have a stroker, then by all means they probably go with a different gear, because the gear is the easiest way to get horsepower to the ground on a street car. You could take a 325 out and put a 389 in, or 411 gears, and you've got a tremendously fast vehicle. Albeit top end may be reduced, but who cares about top end? So in the big scheme of things, you can't put the Diablo Sport or the Super Chip tuner. You can't use that for this application, but there may be a chip that you could put in the engine. But I think the first thing to do would be to does it still have, to your knowledge, oxygen sensors in the loop?
It does. And I should have added also that they put an MSD full ignition system in it. That car's been massaged. And that's a good thing. And you mentioned how clean it was in the valve cover. What needs to be done, and the easiest thing, Lee, for you to do is to take it into a service shop or that can read the oxygen sensors, which can be easily done even though it's a 92 model, and check the O2 sensor reading to see if it's lean or rich, and then that will tell you what's coming out of the engine. You understand? Yes.
So
and how is that, if it's burning too rich, how is that adjusted?
Well, therein lies a real issue. It's not adjustable.
It's still throttle body.
Yeah, right. So it's not adjustable. I mean, that air-fuel ratio is adjustable in later model computers where you can set a program, but it's not adjustable in that. Hey, I got a hard break coming up, Lee. I really want to thank you for your call and reminisce with you as well. Call back later at another date and we'll pick up the conversation. Folks, don't touch that dial. I'll be back. Let's dive into another Car Clinic email. Dear Bobby, My vehicle has just gone out of warranty. It has 48,000 miles, and now all maintenance is my responsibility. Can you suggest a maintenance checklist? I'd like to keep this vehicle long-term. Assuming your vehicle is about 4 years old and has just under 50,000 miles on the odometer, we suggest starting with the fluids. Think brake fluid, transmission fluid, and of course coolant. The cooling system is often overlooked. While coolant and cooling systems have evolved through the years, they still need service. Have the cooling system flushed and refilled with a proper antifreeze coolant for your specific vehicle, and inspect all belts and hoses. And don't forget the thermostat and radiator cap. Complete the system service with a new Stant Superstat and a new Stant radiator pressure cap. This is a great way to extend the life of all cooling system components and add reliability to your vehicle. Stant products meet or exceed OE quality in both fit and function. Learn more at Stant.com. That's Stant.com. Folks, we're testing an Intune i2 performance programmer from Diablo Sport, and we'll share feedback and results over the next few months. First is ease of installation. Directions were clear and the setup was easy. The Intune i2 is preloaded with dyno and street-tested performance programs developed specifically for your car or truck, ensuring optimal power and drivability gains. From there, you can then customize a tune tailored to your own performance needs. What a great way to boost power without even popping the hood. Diablo Sport Intune i2 has a fantastic look and now features the latest generation ARM processor for a higher resolution screen and an exceptionally responsive touchpad. You can update your i2 software on virtually any computer, Windows, Mac, Linux, and update times are fast. Even the large updates take no more than 5 minutes. I'll report more to you about the Intune i2 in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out the i2 for yourself at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. A very interesting conversation I had with Lee there in New York, and who has been to our fair city here. We're broadcasting from the center of the automotive universe, which happens to be Bobby Likis Car Clinic Pre-Repair, which is a full-service, bumper-to-bumper automotive service shop located on the beautiful Gulf Coast of Florida in Pensacola. Our shop is some 15,000 square feet in size and has, 12, 15, 16 lifts and a great crew. We also have won for 7 years in a row the Pensacola News Journal's Gannett's Best of the Bay, except this year we outperformed our own team, our own self, and we were elected into the Hall of Fame for the best. And I can't tell you how much that warms my heart, and also how proud I am of our team. Having said that, following the best of came the BBB, the Better Business Bureau's Torch Award for Ethics in Business, and we were selected by our peers, and that's really huge. It's probably the highest honor that we've ever won. This is the year for our company, going on 47 years. We're in our 46th year, and the Better Business Bureau's Torch Award for Ethics in Business included both Escambia and Santa Rosa counties, including all business, not just auto repair. Auto repair is unbelievable that would happen, but it included all businesses, and there are three categories or three sizes, and one's the big box store, and one's a smaller, and then a smaller business than that. And so of all of the businesses our size, we were selected as this year's, that's 2017 Better Business Bureau Torch Award for Ethics in Business, Auto Repair and Ethics in Business. I can tell you, I'm really proud of that. Okay, I'm ready for your calls. Jan will take your call at 888-227-2546 and put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. In the meantime, let's go to Detroit and talk with Jim, who is going to share information, and we'll have a dialogue about, and I'm not sure what about this morning, so let's find out. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, that's why I like working with you, Bobby. No matter what I throw at you, you know as much or more than I do, and we go well together.
Well, you know, I think we both read a lot about the automotive world, and the automotive world continues to evolve. But I'll turn the mic to you. What did you bring us first out of the chute?
Okay, first out of the chute, Bobby, they've got a new gadget where if you don't know the interpretation of your trouble light, you plug this gadget into your car, it's a new app device, and it plugs into your system to pinpoint it more direct. Let's say I need an oil change in September. That's when I usually get it. Well, if I need transmission problems, it's going to tell me that too, which would be to your customer, being an awareness they might have a transmission problem, they might not balk at you if they trust the gadget that will do it and tell them before they get to your place.
Yeah, I read about that gadget, and I saw a video on that gadget, and it's interesting to me. From a professional standpoint, I'm not sure that I like that gadget because it will definitely report some of the items that are wrong with your car, but it's not going to tell you what's wrong. That still takes a real person with real training and real experience, and then some, and then some, and then some. So, but it does play well, and so as you can tell, Jim, I'm not really sold on that new widget. It's an application that does work on algorithms and miles and what have you. So it's the same, not the same as, but it's similar to the programs that General Motors uses that tells you when it's time to change your oil and filter, and yet there's no oil sensor in the crankcase. There's nothing that tests the quality of the oil. It's just all based on algorithms, which mean how long you ran the engine at what temperature and wide open throttle or park throttle or what have you. And it says, given all the history of, say, the oil, for instance, we know that a car that has 12,000 or 8,000 miles on it, the oil should be about 47% good. But what if it had a flooded system, or what if it had an injector that leaked? The system has no way of knowing that. So in the big scheme of things, there's nothing that will, at this time, ever replace a technician and one that's trained, and that's the way, you know, as you can see, you hit a soft button there, a hard button for me. Anyway, back to you. What else did you bring us?
Okay, Bobby, let's go back to the another topic, electric cars. What's happening is they are getting more sales. Tesla and other companies are planning to produce more, but what is still the drawback? Even though some countries are saying by 2040 or before, they're going to obsolete the idea of anything but an electric car. One of the things that makes it a problem is how can you charge? Let's say you and your wife both work and you have to have two chargers. Well, in one way, I've got that linked. If I stayed on a 110 charger and plugged one in the garage, and I got another plug in the backyard, technically I could charge two cars just with the plugs I have, power plugs, but still it's not as good as what I had said on earlier shows. I'd want a more powerful charge than a 110. If I had time on my hands to wait for it, fine. If I don't, I want a full charge everywhere I go. And that's another problem with the network setting up for charging your car. Most people that don't own a Tesla don't have a good network in the United States. It's catcher's can. It's not consistent all over. But the positive side of that, the charger in many cases can charge your car up to 80% in most cases in a 10-minute charge. So a 10-minute pause on the highway to get farther, to me, is not a bother.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and just this week we received, after talking about some electric vehicles last week, we received a note from Texas, yes, from a Texas listener. And he talked about, I heard you talking about EV cars, and so who's going to create the electricity and the grid, and what will it cost for the grid, and how clean is the electricity? How cleanly is the electricity made that's going to charge the cars? So in other words, you're trading. The implication was that you were going from one polluted engine to another possible pollution point. And finally, he asked that maybe we asked him if he had someone, because he was worked in the academia, if he had someone that was familiar with the charging. So maybe we'll have someone from Gulf Power or from some power, the Southern company, on, so that we can get some input. But know this. Everything that you and I have discussed with regard to electric cars, Jim, means there's opportunity. And so while it's true, if you got two 110 plugs, really people with electric cars don't use 110 plugs. They put in 220 units and 440 units. And I won't get into it today, but maybe next week. In fact, I will. I promise you, folks. Next week, I'm going to share with you the latest on Faraday. And Jim, you're familiar with Faraday, I'm sure.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Faraday. Well, I won't get into that. We'll do it next week. I'll give you a report on Faraday next week. So, folks, mark your calendar and remind me, Fabio, if you would, and Miss Jan and Jonathan, that next week let's work it into the program on the latest on Faraday. Jim, let's go back to you. What else did you bring us?
Okay, well, let's talk about the. Whoops! I don't know why I'm getting sound here. We have to cut that out.
No, you're good. You're just fine.
Okay. You couldn't hear any background sound, correct?
No. Please continue.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the new Camaro XL car, and that's going to be considered the newest car to get into racetracks, to win and have better performance. And that, to me, is big news, because nobody ever says we got the car forever better, and we're always challenging each other to make sure the better car wins.
Well, who says they have the better car? Camaro?
Right.
Well, Ford says they have the better car, and Mercedes says they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm going to say my wife is better than your wife.
Yeah, right. Well, we won't go there, but I hear what you're saying. Now, there's no question about it. Today, it's a buyer's market. I mean, you can buy a Hellcat with 705 horsepower. You can spend a few $1,000s on it and have 1,000 horsepower. And a friend of mine just recently did that. He had over 1,100 horsepower on a Hellcat, drove the car on the racetrack, a drag strip a couple of times, and sold it because that's really what he wanted to do, and ran a 90% ethanol fuel that had 114 octane rating. And so it's very interesting for us to talk about Camaros and fast cars and the new Mustangs. And it's a shame that the Viper went away, but I think the Viper outpriced itself. It should have stayed in that lower price and continued as a lost leader for Fiat Chrysler. But somebody up the chain made that decision. Short period of time left before the hard break. What else you bring us, sir?
Okay, short period of time. It's just like new car companies coming out with electric cars, and they're marketing their cars at a starting price of $100,000. Now, for me and what I've got in the bank, that's above what I could get.
I hear you. Well, those are all cars that are all cars to be talked about, and just like racing has always been known. I knew I'd hit that mic sooner or later. Racing has been known to race on Sunday, sell cars on Monday. So you look at the cars that are on NASCAR, they may look like Toyotas and Chevrolets and Fords, but they're all bubble wrapped. They're all vinyl wrapped, and in the big scheme of things, they're not even painted. And they're not really cars. They're race cars with tubular chassis and everything special about them. But it's all about, NASCAR's always been about the brand and the branding. And, Apple, look at Apple. I mean, I'm not disputing any brands because I have an Apple phone and a Mac top and And I'm a big Apple fan because I love the technology. They're darn near indestructible. We have about 30 seconds left. Last topic for you, quickly.
Okay, the last topic is, with the automatic features in all our cars, is that going to make better drivers? No, because you won't have to look toward the side. The extra camera on the car is going to tell you if a car is coming, and avoid that with the autonomous driving. It's not going to make it better because you're not using your driving skills as much as you do now. So it's not going to increase people's skills. They'll become lax and dormant.
That part, I agree. It's like, folks, and what Jim says here, is how many numbers can you add in your head? Well, give me the calculator. Where's my phone? I agree. So, Jim, as always, great to have you. And, folks, we're going to come back and take your calls at 888-227-2546. The last segment of the program is dedicated to you and your calls at 888 Car Clinic. Dear Bobby, while traveling, my 08 Subaru needed to have a tire replaced due to a puncture. I could not find the exact tire and used an off-brand instead. Different brand, but same size. Could this cause problems for my all-wheel drive vehicle? Tire diameter is critical, especially on all-wheel drive vehicles. Using the same size from different manufacturers can create enough of a difference to be an issue, even with just one tire. Not to mention the differences in tread wear levels. The vehicle could shudder on turns. It could even damage the all-wheel drive system. In some vehicles, the all-wheel drive system becomes disabled and won't work at all. Vehicle manufacturers state the concern about mismatched tires and diameter differences through their service departments and technical service bulletins. Some vehicle manufacturers actually require replacement tires in sets of 4 to help avoid any issues. Buying off-brand tires can also be a problem because not all brands have nationwide coverage. This is just one of the reasons we recommend General Tire so frequently, as they're available coast to coast. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Call with your car questions at 888 Car Clinic. Folks, nearly 362,000 kids turned 16 years old this month, more than any other month this year. That means a lot of new drivers will be hitting the road this month, causing major anxiety for parents everywhere. On the Car Clinic hotline with us now is Luciana Chamberlain, Family Link Product Marketing Manager for Chevrolet. Luciana, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thanks for having me, Bobby.
Of course, all parents want to keep their new teen drivers safe behind the wheel. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers how the Family Link technology from Chevrolet and OnStar help.
Sure. I guess we all know that, the day our kids start driving, it's a dream come true for them, but it could be a real nightmare for concerned parents. So FamilyLink provides parents with vehicle location services via email or text to help monitor where their child is or going. So we have features such as boundary alerts, which allow the parents to set an area by location or radius a vehicle should always be in and sends you an alert when the border's crossed. It's a great feature in order for parents to, for example, know where their child is after school every day. They are sent a text message at 3 o'clock, and it notifies them of their exact location, such as, soccer practice or, a friend's house or the mall.
So, in addition to the text messages, are there other types of alerts that parents can set?
Yeah, we also have the ability to send an email. And again, another great example is if there's a particular destination that you'd like to be notified when the vehicle arrives, you can actually set an email alert to be sent to you as soon as your child reaches, for example, they reach home at a certain time.
That's cool. On the line with us now is Luciana Chamberlain, FamilyLink Product Marketing Manager for Chevrolet. Luciana, what about the security of this system? Can it be interrupted?
One of the great things about this particular service is that it's embedded in the OnStar system. And if a customer decides to opt into the service, you really can't turn it off. It really is always there, unlike a cell phone, where you can turn your cell phone off or you can turn your location-based services off. This system doesn't turn off. It will always be there to give you the information about your son or daughter's location.
And it's very important. How much does the service cost, and on which vehicles is FamilyLink available?
Well, throughout August, Chevrolet is actually offering 3 months of free OnStar FamilyLink. After the 3-month trial is over, parents will have the option to keep OnStar FamilyLink for only $3.99 a month plus tax. And yeah, it's basically like a cup of coffee.
I'll say, except it can save you a lot of grief. That's a fantastic service. Tell our Car Clinic listeners and our parents how they can sign up for FamilyLink today.
It's easy. Just visit OnStar.com, and there's a FamilyLink portion under the plans section, and the site will take you through exactly the steps you need to take in order to sign up.
Sounds like a great program to me, and especially with so many new drivers turning 16. Luciana Chamberlain, FamilyLink Product Marketing Manager for Chevrolet. Luciana, thanks for joining us on Car Clinic today. Great program.
Thank you for having me.
And that really is a great program, the FamilyLink, and just imagine that. What do you think about that, folks? 888 Car Clinic. Would you, now not your teenager, but would you as a parent opt into a program like that? $4 a month. That's, I think the cost is that's not a hard cost, like Luciana said, a cup of coffee. The real bottom line is you're able to know and have a good feeling about where your car is and where your teenager is. From a teenager standpoint, I'm not sure that I would like that, but on the other hand, it's better to be safe than otherwise. So I'd love to hear your take on it. 888 Car Clinic. Miss Jan will take your calls and put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. So this week, let's see, what do we do this week that's exciting? Well, Johnny Bars, our shop foreman and a lead ASE Master Certified Technician, and I, yours truly, installed 2 differential gear sets, ring and pinions, and an F-150 with a V8 gas engine. And the gear ratio that we changed to was a 411 gear. And that's a lower gear ratio than what the vehicle had in it. Which is like had a 325, and I didn't really count the old gears because we were concentrated on the new gears. But to properly install a ring and pinion, a new ring and pinion in a differential, is an art form, and I actually love that kind of work myself. Although I don't work in the shop, I participated and helped Johnny as his teammate in this particular procedure. Number one, differentials were always my forte, and I've just been fortunate that I was able to learn, and yes, learn from a lot of experience. But this particular pattern is, you'll want to see it. We're going to post pictures of this coming Monday or Tuesday. we will post the pictures of that ring and pinion, and you'll be able to look at the pattern. And you say, well, what do you mean a pattern? When you set up a ring gear and pinion, that's a hypoid gear set, which means that the pinion doesn't go in the center of the ring gear. It's dropped down. And what that does is it gives longer tooth contact, because it's called a hypoid gear set. And all cars are made that way. That also lowers the drive shaft in the center of the car, so you can get it out of the way. And it also, as I said, makes the pinion gear literally screw through the ring gear, and when it screws through, it turns the ring gear. So you've got the engine turning longitudinally with the car. You've got the axles that are at 90 degrees. Well, how do you get that power to go from the engine that's going down the center of the car to the outboard rear wheels? Well, the front. Well, you do it with a hypoid gear set, and that's called a ring gear and pinion. And what you do is you have a certain amount of teeth on the ring gear and a certain amount of teeth on the pinion. And if you've got 41 teeth on the ring gear and 10 on the pinion, you have a 411 gear. You divide the pinion into the ring gear. So that gives you a lot of bottom end torque. It helps you to launch the car. Race cars will have gears in the 5s and 6s, and really so they can really launch, and they have big fat rubber tires that are with no tread, that grip the road. And you say, well, gosh, let's put those on the highway. Well, you can't, because you have to have tread on the highway for wet weather traction. A racing slick is just that. In wet weather, that's why you don't see NASCAR running cars around. But getting back to the ring gear and pinion, we'll be posting that. So you can go to Pinterest.com/Bobby Likis. You can go to Facebook.com/Bobby Likis, Likis, and see those. And then on our Pinterest board, we have in the shop board, and it's really interesting because we show the insides of engines, and in this case, the insides of ring gear and pinion. And the way that we can tell whether or not the ring gear and pinion is set up correctly is we use a yellow paint, which is not really paint, but it's a dye, a yellow paint, and we coat the gears, and then we run the gears through the course. So you'll move the ring gear half its turn, and that will zip through the pinion, and then you do that several times, and then I'll use a cloth, and I'll put pressure on the pinion so that while Johnny turns the ring gear, and that really makes a footprint on the teeth. And then we look at where that footprint is on the teeth, and depending on where you position the ring and pinion is where the pattern ends up. Now, how close does it has to be? Well, I can tell you, you're dealing in thousandths of an inch. For example, the last time we moved the pinion in 4 thousandths more, and 4 thousandths gave us that pattern that was a perfect pattern. And then how much slack is called backlash, and that's how much slack between the ring gear and the pinion determines, number one, that dreaded, an older car would have a lot of backlash because the gears have worn, and that's that clunking when you let off the accelerator or you accelerate. And so somewhere between 8 and 12 thousandths is the spec, and we ended up 10 thousandths. And on one and 8 thousandths on the other. So we were right real on the money, and it was a lot of fun for me. And it took a lot of time, which is we don't normally get involved with changing gear sets in cars, but this is a good customer. It's a regular customer, and that they wanted us to do that for them, and so they brought us the gears, and then we replaced all bearings, all seals, all crush sleeves, and set this up, and then yours truly drove that vehicle about 15 miles to break in the new gears, although it's going to be 500 miles before they're really truly broken in, because there's a phosphorus coating on the ring gear and pinion that has to wear away, and then there's a heat that you have to bring it up to a certain heat and then stop and let it sit or let it cool down, and all those sorts of things. So it was a very successful repair. We kept that vehicle for quite a while because we had to order special bearings for it and crush sleeves. but I will tell you it's worth every dollar that the customer paid us, and it's worth every inch of time that we spent, because it's a great job, and I'm really proud of that. Another job that we did was unusual, and it has to do with batteries. And I want to share this with you because a longtime friend and great customer of ours, son, is going away to college. Now, he drives Ford Fusion, has 78,000 miles, bought it used, and one of the nicest used Ford Fusions I've ever seen. So this car he bought it about 8 months ago, and we got a call and said, would you check this car out for college? So we did, and lo and behold, the oil looked great, the tires, 730 seconds, 630 seconds, that's a lot of rubber left on the road. The fluids all looked adequate and nothing really bad. But then peeking out from under the red rubber boot of the positive battery terminal was an anthill of corrosion. And when I lifted that boot, I mean to tell you, you could not identify, well, you could identify it because it was all corroded, the battery terminal. So of all of the inspections, and that was the reason it was in our shop to get it inspected, of all of the inspection points that we looked at, from steering to brakes to lights to oils to wiper blades, that was the one thing that would put that car down, and that was a battery cable. So we took that battery out of that vehicle. We washed the battery box. We cleaned the terminals. We had to put a new bolt in the positive terminal, and we used a chemically treated wicks and put the terminals back on. So just for you to know. Now, the only thing that we didn't do was replace the battery, because the battery had already been replaced. I won't mention the brand of the battery, but it was not a PowerFrame brand battery. And PowerFrame doesn't make a battery, but they make the PowerFrame grid technology that you hear me talking about. And so that brings me to mind of what PowerFrame offers and what I would have done if that had been my automobile when the battery was replaced. Now, I don't know whether the customer replaced the battery or the battery was replaced because the customer bought this car used, but the bottom line is the battery didn't quite fit. It was not 100% secure, although it won't come out, but it corroded. And the PowerFrame battery grid technology is more durable, 66% more corrosion resistance than a standard PowerFrame, than a standard battery grid, the PowerFrame grid is, 70% more current flow. So next time you look at your battery, or the next time that you need a battery, you should get one that has the PowerFrame grid technology, and you'll know that it has the true strength on the inside because it will have the PowerFrame logo on the outside. It's stronger, more durable than other grid technologies, so it's structurally more secure, and it's superior starting performance. And the PowerFrame grid technology at the manufacturing level is 20% less polluting to atmosphere, which means that it's environmentally friendly. So if you need a next battery, you just get one with the PowerFrame logo on it. We'll take a call now, 888-227-2546. James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes, sir. I have a 1998 Dodge Caravan, and suddenly the doors, when it's sitting in the garage, turned off, are locking every minute or half minute, and I'm not sure what to do to solve it other than disconnect the battery. I've tried that, reset it. Nothing is fixing it. It keeps doing it.
That's going to be a lock switch. Well, let me say this. In the 90s, when the Dodge Caravan and the Chrysler Town and Country were made, Chrysler ran the battery. They ran the all of the main cables from the modules. The module, if you open the hood and look at the driver's side, James, there's the battery. Mm-hmm. It's where the battery is. Well, okay. Next to it is the engine control module. Now, the body control module that could be affected is not outside. It's inside under the dash. Having said that, that outside battery will corrode, and then it will, when it's washed or water gets on it or humidity, it will drain, and there's a drain hole, and that drain hole has a hose, and that hose goes out to where all that yuck drains off on the environmental on the road. I mean, better than that than to get on the wires. But the problem is that dust and dirt and road grime would stop up and plug up the drain hole, and those wires would get corroded. So the first thing that I would want you to do, and I do have the corrosion on my mind because I just had this happen to me this week that we found on a customer's car. Number one, check the battery and check the battery tray by pulling the battery out. Make sure that it's not stopped up, and look at the wires under the battery box. That's number one. Number two, have a technician check the up and down lock switches. You may have one that is sticking in position, sending a signal. Folks, that's all the time that we have. Like us, you'll love us. Another hour coming up.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, recently we had a four-cylinder 2014 Nissan Frontier in the shop. The customer said the vehicle wasn't running well, nothing specific, but fuel mileage was down and the vehicle had lost its zip. As he explained, it's a manual transmission, so I know what it should feel like, and it's just not right. The suggested maintenance and ignition service were up to date, and there were no trouble codes. So what was the problem? The answer lies with today's complex engines. While the maintenance schedule was on time, engines today are prone to carbon deposit formation, and fuel system cleaning is a key piece of the puzzle. Professional fuel system cleaning is an option, but a less expensive alternative is the use of a pour-in fuel system cleaner. We use Berryman B12 Chem Tool in the shop. It features Berryman's proprietary high-energy solvent, or HEST technology. We poured a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool into the Frontier, and after just one tank of gas, MPG improved and the vehicle regained its zippiness. For more information, drive to BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Ride along with me this hour, and I'll take your calls, and we'll talk about some challenges and also some repairs and some some products that I can help you with when it's time to repair your car or replace your tires or your battery or what kind of oil to use. Now, you can use any brand that you choose a name brand oil, quite candidly, they're all good. But application-wise, you must use the viscosity that the manufacturer calls for and what your engine is designed for. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I see that we have Gerald here from Louisiana. We're going to go to him first, and we'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Please get in early versus later. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by General Tire and its innovative replacement tire monitor technology, which provides you with a warning when the tire is worn and needs to be replaced. It is way cool. Replacement tire monitor. I'll tell you more about that a little later in the program. In the meantime, you can drive to generaltire.com for all the details, and you can stay tuned for your questions, my answers, and our dialogue when it comes to repair, service, maintenance, oils, tires, batteries, you name it. 888-227-2546. When I come back, Gerald's going to be first up, and then your call. In our latest Talking Tires segment, General Tire's Senior Communications Specialist, John Robinson, explains why it's important to look at a tire's age when considering replacement, not just miles driven on the tires.
You have to be careful because sometimes you think, well, I haven't driven those tires too many miles, but if a car sits, you've got flat spotting, you also have dry rot or cracking to the sidewalls of the tire. Just because there aren't a whole lot of miles on the tire doesn't mean that the age, the heat, and the sun haven't negatively affected the tire. So you want to examine the tire, kind of figure out how old the tires actually are, and go from there.
Introducing the Grabber HD, a heavy-duty, all-season tire for commercial light trucks and vans that delivers long, even tread life, durability, confident traction, and handling. The Grabber HD features sidewall curb guards to help protect the tire from potential sidewall abrasions, and a rigid outer shoulder provides stability and handling under loaded conditions. For more, go to generaltire.com. That's generaltire.com. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. Helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Gary's Mercury Sable was just running awful and throwing trouble codes. A local technician said it might cost as much as $600. So first, Gary tried Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel Additive, and now it runs like new with no trouble codes. Learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
It's Mosquito Awareness Week, and Dynatrap has 3 simple steps to help you stay safe from mosquitoes this summer. 1. Remove standing water in planters and other places water can collect. 2. Wear light-colored long-sleeve clothing and apply repellents when outdoors. 3. Inspect and patch holes in screen doors and windows. Head to Dynatrap.com/Mosquito Week for more tips and tricks on keeping mosquitoes at bay all summer long.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to the beginning of this program, this hour, and right along with me. We have some lines open, and we see that we have several calls already in the queue. So now is the best time to get in versus waiting to the latter part of the show and we get so rushed. So I'll give you the number, and then we're going to go directly to Gerard in Louisiana. 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546. 888 Car Clinic. Gerard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You're first in, so you're first up. Welcome. I'm glad to have you join us today. What can I do for you?
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I have a 2000 Lincoln with 110,000 miles on it, 4.6 liter. Year or so, a couple of years ago, I heard you talking about a remedy for excessive oil usage. And unfortunately, I was in my car at the time, and my memory is not that great. So I couldn't remember, and I asked the local Ford dealership. They didn't know anything about it. I think you mentioned something. It was a GM product. I went to a GM dealership. They didn't know anything about it. So I'd like to get some info from you, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. I'm glad you called. Those engines are known to use oil, but most of the cars that we've seen that have, like yours, that use oil, stem from the fact that the owners are easy drivers. And you know, number one, it's an older age group that owned the Lincolns. And of course, you know, the manufacturers are trying to change that and get younger buyers all the time. And the Cadillacs went to the edgy side to really change their traffic flow there. And as a result, because of conservative driving, that engine didn't like conservative driving. Well, quite candidly, very few internal combustion engines like conservative driving. But consumers, I mean, you know, Gerard, people don't know that. You don't know. I mean, you know, you just say, well, I'm not a racer. I don't want to race my car. Neither am I. But without exception, when I accelerate, and this is not every time, but at least once or twice a week, when my engine is up to operating temperature and I accelerate onto the on-ramp, and I'm going, say, 25 miles per hour, there's no car in front of me, I will nail the throttle and kick my car automatically down into the first or second gear, depending on how fast I'm going, and hold it wide open throttle and let it shift out by itself. Now I've come up to speed, I back off, and I enter the interstate at the right speed, but I got there in a hurry. So yeah, it's a drag racer's dream, so you can race without getting caught. But in the big scheme of things, it's all about, for me, not only feeling the power, it's all about exercising my engine, because the oil rings get sticky with carbon. Carbon fouling is the single most deadly cause of repair in all cars today. Carbon fouling. And the reason, number one, it's because we have direct injection. Now, your Lincoln doesn't have direct injection. That's a good thing. Although the direct injection is superior to your port injection. The direct injection has, when you take the port injection away, has no way to wash the carbon off the back of the intake valves. So, in fact, Ford this year added port along with direct injection. So that's really the answer. Of course, they're claiming that it's because it can be a more efficient engine. But that's right, it's more efficient at 50,000 than its predecessor was at 50,000, because it has both port and direct injection. With your vehicle, and getting to the root of your question, there are chemicals that we use that we pour into the engine when the engine is hot, and we call this I've named it a stage 5 purge. And what I'm going to do, Gerard, is I'm going to put, after our conversation, put you back on hold so you can give Miss Jan your email address so I can send you the right methodology so you can find a shop there in Louisiana that can perform this operation. Will it stop the problem? I don't know, but it certainly won't hurt the engine. And if it loosens the rings and loosens and dissolves the carbon that is causing the oil rings to be sticky and not sliding the oil, not scraping the oil off the cylinders. So that's really the problem, is that the carbon builds up in top of the piston, down into compression rings, and then it really builds up in the oil rings. And that is, as I said, for your engine, that's a common problem. Dealers don't really get into, well, independent shops don't really get into what I'm talking about, because in the big scheme of things, they know that if you have a new engine or a reman engine, that's going to solve your problem. But hey, you'd spend $5,000 in a heartbeat. So it's better to spend $200 or $300 and try this methodology than to continue to let the carbon build up, because that not only burns oil, it pollutes the catalytic converter and the air and everything else thereafter. So Gerard, what you're going to do is you're going to find a shop in Louisiana, and I'll help point you in that direction. You're going to that will pour in this additive into a hot engine and let it sit overnight is best, and then the next day drive it, and then change the oil and filter, because there's a lot of that stuff that's going to go into the bottom of the pan. So I will put you back on hold, but it is a procedure that we codified and we created, but we didn't create the chemistry. The chemistry is out there, and there's a national company that has this chemistry that I will share with you so that you can find in your own backyard, your own neighborhood, a shop that has this chemistry, and then I'll inform you of how to inform them and how you want this done. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Sure do.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Gerard. Thank you. Where do you live in Louisiana?
Jeanerette, Southwest Louisiana.
Well, I'll tell you, that's God's country. I have a story. I won't tell it right now with racing. I went to Houma, Louisiana one time.
Oh yeah.
And raced and one of your compadres there said, "Hey, you didn't brung enough. You better go home. You didn't brung enough." And sure enough, we didn't take enough because he outran it. He put us back on the trailer.
Yeah.
So let me put you on hold. Fabio, put Gerard on hold, and Miss Jan will take your call. I'll take your email, and then I'll send you that information. Let's go from Louisiana let's come back to Florida and take a call from Ricky. He was second in the queue. And folks, now's the time, 888-227-2546. Ricky, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby, good to talk to you again.
Pleasure. What can I do for you?
I've got a 95 Chevrolet Silverado pickup.
Okay.
Crank it up in the morning, start it up, get ready to go. Everything's fine. It runs down the road just perfect. Transmission shifts just fine. Make my first stop. Come back out, 5-10 minutes later, start it up. And then it won't stop. Most of the time, it'll idle up and down, up and down. And if you put it in gear, it'll just slam into gear. And put it back in park, shut it off, let it sit for about 5 minutes, crank it up, everything's fine again.
Okay.
So it'll do that all during the day.
What you said 95, is that the correct year?
Yes,
Well, number one, GM has had some throttle body issues with that engine. I know that for a fact because we've had some throttle body issues. Also, there's an idle control module that's located on the firewall near the master cylinder that works in conjunction with the throttle body. I know that because we've also had some issues with that same throttle body now and module control. Having said that, the irony of this is that you could have carbon build up, because I was just talking about carbon, which affects all engines, and specifically as age and time builds up, because the carbon builds up. So that could be causing a problem as well. In the morning, it's not prevalent because the engine is idling fast in the morning because the computer tells it to idle fast. So really, except for the fact that it's already idling fast in the morning because it's supposed to, it's still doing the same thing. But when it warms up, it's not supposed to idle fast, and that's when it's rearing its ugly head, and you say, hey, this is not right. So the first thing that let's see, it's a 95 model. Well, see, that makes it tough. And let me tell you why, Ricky. The 95 models don't have the OBD2 computer, so the ability for a service shop to plug in and read trouble codes on your vehicle is not as set up the way it is for 96 and later. That's unfortunate. So you're going to have to find a service shop that is familiar with throttle bodies, and most service shops are, and have them. You can still go into your OBD1 computer and read some trouble codes there, but by and large, you're going to have to look for carbon in the idle air controller and look for technical service bulletins. And Ricky, you can do this, and certainly a shop can. Go to alldata.com. You got a pen? Write this down. ALLDATA, ALLDATA.com, and look under Consumers, and look for TSBs for your particular Silverado, and you will find this very subject. Folks, got a hard break. I'll be back. Don't go away.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with PowerFrame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with PowerFrame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with PowerFrame technology inside. Look for PowerFrame on the outside and know there's true strength on the inside.
Time to go to our car clinic inbox. Jim in Indianapolis writes, Bobby, I have a 2010 Ford Explorer, and it's taking more than 10 minutes for the engine to warm up, whereas it used to take 6. I hear you guys talking about Stant thermostats. What makes them so special? Thanks, Jim. You probably heard me talking about the Superstat in particular. Superstat is a premium-grade thermostat that performs better and lasts longer. The Superstat features heavy-duty springs that help return it to a closed position to prevent cold running. A larger heat motor helps control engine temperature, while a heavier gauge steel housing gives it a high-end feel. Just hold one yourself and you'll feel the difference. The Superstat is American-made and comes with a limited lifetime warranty. You definitely don't want to compromise when replacing your Explorer's engine thermostat. The Superstat helps maintain proper air-to-fuel ratio, which maximizes fuel economy, keeps tailpipe emissions in check, and provides optimal performance. Learn more about the Superstat at your local auto parts store or at stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'd love to take your call at 888 Car Clinic. Miss Jan will put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air at 888-227-2546. Let's go to Jim in New York, and then we'll go to Ryan in South Dakota. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, sir.
Hey, I've got a problem. Well, not a problem. I want to press something I've never encountered before with, with a newer car.
All right.
I just bought a 2011 Toyota Scion. It's the XB model, and it's got. I was going through the owner's manual to read about it. And in the owner's manual, it says this car will use 1 quart of oil every 600 miles. I've never run across that before.
It states that in the owner's manual?
In the owner's manual, yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you a question. How long have you had it, and does it use 1 quart of oil every 600 miles?
I haven't had it that long. I've only had it 2 weeks.
Well, if you're going to cross...
it's pardon?
You better take a case of oil if you're going to cross country. No, Jim, that surprises me. I have, In fact, Dave Barnes, who is the president and CEO of Barnes West, and that's a videographer, and he is just a godsend. We love that fellow and all of his crew. Heather, they just do a great. Alex, his son, they do videography, and they do a lot of. They cover a lot of political rallies and those sorts of things. And whenever I need help here in the studio, he'll come in and we'll create a video. He drives one of those vehicles. And Dave has 300,000 miles on the vehicle. We do the service on the car. We do all the service. But what I'm not saying is that he never did any service until he got 100. And then he never did any second service until he got 100. So every time we see the car, it's 100,000 miles later. And I asked him, Dave, how's the car running? Oh, it runs fine. He said, it's great. That's, he's from Minnesota. He's fun to be around. He's real short. Oh, it's great. He said, it's fine, no problem. Of course, if it broke, he just would leave it beside the road and rent a car and go on. Is that right, Jan? That's the way Dave Barnes is, But the bottom line, Jim, his car has given us zero problems. We put rotors and hubs and calipers, and belts and what have you. But if his car used a quart, and here's a point, knowing this fellow like I do, if his car used a quart of oil every 600 miles, he probably would have had to bought an engine by now because he doesn't even check the oil. So what I suggest for you is, number one, have you changed the oil to set a baseline yet?
No, not yet.
Well, that's the first thing you need to do. And are there any records of what oil is in the engine, any stickers on the car anywhere so that you'll know what's in the engine currently?
No, I've looked around. I haven't seen any.
Well, then
I looked at the oil filter. It looks like maybe a stock Toyota oil filter.
Okay. Well, then it probably has the standard oil, which is could be Valvoline or it could be Mobil 1. Here's the bottom line. What I would use in that Scion is I would go ahead and use the Mobil 1 oil. And Mobil 1, by the way, makes conventional oil that is Mobil 1, and then they make Mobil 1 synthetic. So we stock both of those. So you might want to take that engine and first look on the valve cover and see if it. And some engines come with it tells you what kind of oil to put in it, whether it's synthetic or not. I favor synthetic. It really doesn't matter because synthetic is a better oil. It does have better lubricity than conventional oil, but there are many conventional oils out there that will do the same job. Here's the bottom line. Go ahead and change the oil. Make sure you use the viscosity that's called for. So if it says 520, use 520, 1030, use 1030 or 530. It's going to be one of the three. And then establish a baseline and drive that vehicle. And then I want you to call me back because I don't believe that engine will use a quart of oil in 600 miles. I think that is an out for the manufacturer. Having said that, I will tell you that Audis use oil. And it's not unusual for an Audi to use a quart of oil every 1,000 miles, but a quart of oil every 600, I doubt that engine's going to use that oil. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, well, try. You're going to call me back now after you put 1,000 miles on it, right?
Yes, sir, I will.
All right, I want to know. And folks, we're talking about a 2011 Toyota Scion. And
it's got the 2.4 engine in it.
Right, a 2.4 engine about oil usage. So if there's anyone in the listening audience globally or nationwide, and you've got experience with this particular engine, then I'd like to hear from you at 888 Car Clinic because Jim just bought this car. How many miles on the car, Jim?
It's got almost 69,000.
Well, you're good. You're really that's you've got another 160 to go. So you're in good shape there, but let's just track it and see where it goes, and let's let the car tell us what it's doing, let the engine, before we jump to any conclusions. But hey, thanks for reading the book. Good for you. And I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, you have a good day.
Thank you, sir. You as well. In New York, let's go to South Dakota now and take a call from Ryan in South Dakota. Ryan, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, got a question. I got a 98 Dodge Ram 2500. It's got the 12 valve, the mechanical injection Cummins diesel in it.
Yes, sir.
Blew a head gasket on it and had the head resurfaced. It had 240 just about 250,000 miles on it, and had the head resurfaced. The block surface has quite a bit of pitting along the water jackets on the passenger side. I went ahead and put the head gasket in it with studs, and had a leak right away externally. It leaked coolant down the passenger side of the block.
Yes, sir.
Took it back apart, and I guess my question is there any product that a guy can use to smooth out that block surface? Obviously, I know the right way is to take it out and have it planed or decked. And I guess I was just going to see, is there a product a guy can use on the block surface to smooth that out and get a gasket to hold?
Well, being a diesel, well, first let's back up. Your problem, as you know it, and you took it back apart, is not that the compression is leaking. So the immediate, how about the immediate gasket around, as far as the coolant leaking out the side of the block, yeah, there's some stop leaks that you can pour in the engine that would probably stop that coolant leak. But my question to you is, to the best of your knowledge, when you put it back together, is it leaking compression around the head gasket seal itself, around the O-ring?
No, not near as I could tell.
Okay.
I drove it a little bit with that on there.
Right.
Wasn't getting any kind of white smoke, and good startup and all that.
Good.
So.
Well, number one, the only way, of course, to resurface the block is to resurface the block, but that's not going to happen, without, as you know, complete disassembly.
Right.
But it seems to me, it seems to me you could block sand. Okay, this is really a no-no, but hey, you got nothing to lose. It seems to me that you could block sand the top of the block if you can get to it easily enough, and you've got enough elbow grease, and you were to use maybe, let's see, what would you start off with? 500 grit. Yeah, you want to use 500 grit, and then you would put the 500 grit. Now here's the challenge: you've got to move the pistons. I don't like this, but you need to replace the engine, but that's a major thing. So if you're doing this work yourself, here's what you could do. There's no way you can sand that manually and get the pits out. You got to fill the pits, and I don't know what you could fill them with that would last. But see, there's, gosh, that's intriguing. I've never done that before. Well, I mean, I wouldn't, because I'd pull it out and fix it right. But here's the bottom line. I'm sure there's some kind of a high heat sealer that's like a two-part epoxy. Like why not? Why not get a high heat two-part epoxy, clean the block, use brake clean, which is a real, you got to get all of the oil and all of the coolant off the surface of the block. And then you spray it, and then you take one of those plastic spatulas like they use in the body shop, and you smear a thin film of this two-part epoxy into the pores of that block.
Okay.
Now let's face it, all we're doing is we're just trying to stop coolant from leaking out pinholes. So if you can possibly do that, and then use a 500 grit paper, or 500 should do it. A 500 grit paper or 1,000 grit paper to finish with. The challenge is, in doing all of this block preparation, you've got to put grease into the cylinders and seal the ring grooves, and you've got to put rags in the ports of the block where it's open to the oil. And then when you finish with what you think is adequately coating the deck and filling in the pinholes, and you can do this. I'd be, be worth a try. If I didn't have so much experience, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd say, let's try it, but my experience tells me not to do this. But it's your car, it's your time, and it's your labor. So when you're finished and you think you've got a decent, make sure you blow out the bolt holes. That is a must. And you squirt cleaner in those, and you blow those out. and then you also do the same thing with the ring, and then you turn the motor over, and you wipe the cylinders and put a little oil down, turn it over, and let that oil help to push out any debris that's falling in between the pistons and the ring. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's got to be really clean, or the grit will destroy the engine. So the cure could also destroy the engine unless you promise that you're going to be hospital clean when you're finished. But you know what? Try it on a little surface and see what it works. See how it reacts. Pick out one of the most tender spots, easiest to get to, and see what the results are. Don't do the whole thing. Just do one little piece at a time. And if it feels smooth, then put it back together.
Right.
And then then fire it up, and then put a block seal in with it. And a block seal, there are a lot of companies that make block seal. There's a K seal, the letter K, makes a great block seal. And so when you fire the engine up in the cooling system, go ahead and put the K seal. Well, you read the directions on the label. Fancy that.
Yep.
And use K-Seal, and then try it, and then call me back and let me know how that works. This is very interesting, and if we can save this motor, we've saved you $10,000. Ryan, thank you for your call from South Dakota, and folks, I'll be back after this break. We recently had the opportunity to work on a 2005 F-150. The vehicle owner was complaining about brake noise. His pads and shoes were not terribly old, but did have some miles on them. He's in the delivery service business, which puts his vehicle through a lot of stop-and-go traffic. This works the brakes really hard and can often lead to glazing and excessive brake dust. After performing a visual inspection, we cleaned the brakes using Berryman Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner. It's the first VOC-compliant chlorinated brake cleaner available in over 20 years. Berryman Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner is designed to stop brake squeal. It's the strongest carb-compliant brake cleaner available and dries completely without residue. As part of the process, we were sure to clean the pivot and shoe pad contact points along with the brake spring hardware and self-adjuster mechanisms. Brake dust gets everywhere, and a proper cleaning on an annual basis will lead to longer brake life and better brake performance. Learn more about the new Berryman Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner at BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today, and just some very interesting calls. The gentleman with the diesel leaking out coolant. That's going to be a great project, and I think that there may be light at the end of the tunnel, and it will not be another another train. We have a gentleman on our global cast at Watch Bobby Live that's asking about tires, and specifically the General tires that I promote, and what is so special. So I'm going to go back to the phones, but first let me share with you what you need to know with regard to tires and why I chose General. General Tire, the AS05 is my favorite. It has smart grip technology. Now, what does that mean? Number one, it has a strong, they have the center rib and the outer ribs. Well, the strong center rib is there to provide a crisp steering response. So that actually, when you turn, the car goes with the tire, because the tire has this power to move the car because of the smart grip technology. Number two, it has stable shoulder blocks for the maximum grip. So that's those blocks on the outer side and outside edges of the General tire that are stable and powerful. And then, of course, where the rubber meets the road, the General tire is a silica-rich rubber compound, all-weather grip. So you put all those things together, and that really makes for a great ride, a great drive, and a safe drive. And the StabiliTread has a flatter, larger footprint, folks. There's less stress and improved tread life. So the tires last longer. Fancy that. And then my favorite, the two favorites, are the replacement tire monitor. Just simply, when the tire gets worn, it says replace tire on the center tread. It's there, it's embossed into the tread itself, lets you know when your tires need to be changed, And then there's the last but not least, VAI. That's Visual Alignment Indicator, and that's the neatest little etchings on either side of the outside and inside tread that tells you early warning if the car is out of alignment, because these are little wear patterns that you can see. So for more information, you can go to generaltire.com, but it was a great question that we had, and my choice again, General Tire, the AS05, way cool, way safe, and really the best of technology on the market. Now we'll go to Mike in Pennsylvania and then Sherry in Texas. Mike, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby, got a question about changing fluids. I just bought a 2008 Pontiac Torrent, 69,000 miles on it. And the manual says change the coolant in it every 150,000 miles, and the transmission fluid 100,000 miles. That seems like it's really stretching it. I come from the school of oil is cheaper than engines. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, absolutely. In fact, well, let me just share with you what I did to my own car. At 34,000 miles, I changed the coolant, the power steering fluid, the transmission fluid, the differential fluid, and the brake fluid. Now, the reason I did that at 34,000 miles is because we have in our pre-repair, and that's a program that we created, but it stands for Prevent Repair. We have an international company, and we buy our fluids and our liquids from that company, that provides for us a protection plan. And so that puts a fixed amount of cash in a kitty that whenever my water pump goes out, and it will, that they're going to pay the first $1,500 of a repair. Now here's the catch. I have to do this every 30,000 miles. As we stand today, I've got 46.9 on my car this morning. And I'm about to head off for a trip this week, and I'll put another 1,000 miles on the car. But I've got until 60,000, so every 30,000 miles. Now, does the car and do the fluids need to be changed every 30,000 miles? Well, they say, this company says that you do, because they have a protection plan that they provide from a vendor standpoint to my company, my service company, that I use for all my customers. So they know that if you change the fluids every 30,000 miles, their protection plan is not going to lose any money, because the odds of having a problem, you get it? You see where it's going? Yeah. So I'm going to say the 30,000 miles would be the earliest you'd want to change it, but under no circumstances can you run 100,000 miles on fluids, because oils and lubricants get contaminated. Brake fluid gets a moisture in it because it's hygroscopic. So you're a prime candidate for having all the fluids changed. And there's nothing worse, and I've had this question so many times, and it's really about service shops and the fear. You know, I get a call from New York or from California, and a caller says, Bobby, I've got 150,000 miles. I've never changed the fluid in my transmission. I went to a local shop, and they won't do it. You know, because they know that something's going to happen, and sure enough, if they change the fluid, it just might happen, and then they'll be at blame. And that is not the case. We change fluids at 200,000 miles for our customers because there's no better time to quit smoking. I mean, you know, that's never too late. So like, it's the same thing, Mike. And so I think you need to change all the fluids, and you want to make sure that you are having a company that is in this business perform. In other words, you don't take a turkey baster and suck out the old brake fluid out of the master cylinder reservoir and say that's changing the fluid, because the bad stuff is not only in the reservoir, it's down in the calipers. That's where the moisture accumulates and the calipers get corroded on the inside. So those are the kind of things. But that's a great question that you asked, man.
Valvoline service centers, that they just change fluids on everything. Would that be something I should take a look at? Because they have done some of my SUVs in the past, and I've never had any problems. My car's rusted before I ever had any engine trouble.
Well, let me share with you the service center that I do know. The Federated Car Care Center program is a nationwide network of independently owned facilities. And the Federated Car Care Centers really can take care of all your preventive maintenance and repair needs, whether it's a domestic or a foreign. Of course, yours is a domestic, whether it's older or a newer model. And these are independently owned service centers that agree to Federated Car Care Center program ideologies. That, in other words, this is the way we do our business. So there are rules and regulations, and there's an agreement there. So if I were you, I would really check for a Federated Car Care professional in your neck of the woods, and just Google Federated Car Care, and you'll find a service center there in Pennsylvania. Hey, thank you so much for your call today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Now let's go to Texas and take a call from Sherry. Sherry, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a 2016 Ford Fusion that I bought brand new. And not too long after I got it, it had a throttle problem. It had the throttle replaced. Well, last Saturday I took it in to get the oil changed in it, and they told me that there was an oil leak. And so I took it to the dealership because it's still in warranty, and they had it for 3 days, had to order parts. And when I went to pick it up, I asked for the report, and he said, we have to send it into Ford and get the claim, and they'll send something to you later. So I have no clue what they did to it. Should I be concerned about this car having two problems already just during the warranty period?
Well, I know how you feel, and I want to say this to you. If they're new cars, including your Ford Fusion, in fact, just this week we had one of our my longtime friends and customers had their son going to college. And I told the story a little earlier about the corroded battery terminal on their 13 Ford Fusion. And this car had, they bought used at 72,000 miles. That was 8 months ago. It has 78,000 miles on it. And the son's going away tomorrow to college. So we were asked to look over the car. And that's kind of putting me on the hot spot because we really hadn't seen this car in 8 months. I mean, we did a pre-purchase inspection because he bought it used, and then 8,000 miles later we get it back. So I felt a little uncomfortable because I said, wow, what if they have a problem and they ask me to look at it because I have a connection to these folks. So anyway, long story short, lo and behold, the battery terminal was severely corroded. It's online. We took pictures of it because it was so bad it would have put their son down sooner than later. So I'm really glad that they trusted me enough, and quite candidly, they put the onus on me to help sure that the car was okay. And I have to say I had a little heartburn with that as well, because it's like, hey, I haven't seen this car in 8 months, and now you want me to say it's okay for the trip. So, but that's okay. It just proves that when it comes down to it, they trust me, and I accept that. Having said that, having said that, new cars today, including your Fusion, are better made than ever before. The safety, the brake systems, the engines, the technology, the metallurgy and the metal in the engines, the timing belts and chains and oils and what have you. So I would not want you to be snake bit or feel snake bit because you've had some early on experiences with this car. Better that you had these issues to start than later, because the parts that they put in your car, and like he didn't give you that report, I'll bet you the part that they put in to fix that oil leak was a replacement part for the part that came from the factory, and some of those parts are under recall, and some of them they're not because there's not enough volume of those parts that aren't working correctly. So, and not to give you too much information, but I think that for you, I would monitor that vehicle for the next 6 months. And it doesn't, mileage doesn't matter. Mileage doesn't matter. You can go 50,000 miles or 5,000 miles in 6 months. It's time. Monitor that vehicle over the next 6 months. Really, as long as you change the oil. And I don't know what they told you or what you believe, but 7,500 miles is a maximum on an oil change for that car.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't care what any dealer tells you or any other so-called car guy. Automotive, 7,500 miles is the drop dead point. Now, you can go longer with synthetic oil, yada, 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 but just 7,500 miles, because changing oil and filter, Sherry, is not about changing oil and filter. It's about looking at the other points of the car during an oil change. We don't even do oil changes. We do vehicle inspections that include an oil change. You see where I'm going there?
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
well,
I mean,
I feel like I have a good oil change place for having called that to my attention and reminded me.
Exactly.
So,
See, therein lies. In fact, you just came full circle to what my whole philosophy is. Had it not been for the fact that you had the oil change, you wouldn't have known it was leaking oil.
right.
So
I wouldn't, because I never look at the engine.
exactly. It wouldn't. Nobody does. I mean, it's all that stuff down under there. Now, one thing you said that I disagree with, and you said the dealer said they'll send that to me. You'll never see that paperwork. That is
I won't.
No. So you'll never see that paperwork. That's a claim against Ford Motor Company from one of their dealers, a franchise dealer, and that is all in-house. Now you should be able to get a copy of the repair order when you pick your car up. But the paperwork itself is going to be in-house. But you should be able to get a copy of that paperwork, and not to worry, because the VIN number of your automobile has all of that information already on file, and it won't go away. It's there forever.
Oh, okay.
So,
good.
okay. Where do you live in Texas?
Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome so much. Where do you live in Texas?
I live in Longview, Texas, East Texas.
Well, I'm glad you called me, and stay tuned, because when you tune into Car Clinic, I get all sorts of questions. I've been on the air 26 years, and we own an automotive service shop in Pensacola. We're going on 47 years. So I've been there, done that, and my team has. We've won awards. We won a Better Business Bureau Torch Award for ethics in business, and so we've got a great team. And it is my privilege on Saturdays to share with car owners globally, nationwide and globally, what they can do to make their cars better for them. So again, don't feel snake bit, but do monitor your car for the next 6 months, and then next time you go into the dealer, ask them for a copy of the repair order, and not the internal paperwork. You got it?
Got it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Sherry. Well, folks, that's great. I feel like I've done my work for today. Next week, I want to share with you information about Faraday, and it's an EV maker, electric vehicle maker, that talked about building and a manufacturing plant for $1 billion. And then all of a sudden, there's some changes in the financial structure. So I'll share the latest story with you about that, and I'll share other information with you. And speaking to the battery that I mentioned earlier, I want you to, when you get ready for your next battery, make sure that you buy a battery that has the power frame grid technology on the inside. Now, how do you know that? Well, because it has the PowerFrame logo on the outside. It is not a PowerFrame battery. It is a battery that is sold at Advanced Auto Parts, and PowerFrame grid technology is stronger, more durable, and is stamped versus book mold, so it's more precise, and it provides a 66% better protection against corrosion. There's the bottom line. And get this, a 70% increase in current flow. For more information, much more than I could ever share with you here on Car Clinic, and you'll want to know this, go to powerframe.com and just check on the quality and also compare the grids of a standard book mold and the PowerFrame grid technology, and you'll know why I'm so hyped on the PowerFrame grid technology. I will see you same time, same channel next week, 10 till noon Eastern Time, 10 till noon Eastern Time, right here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
It's time for another Berryman Hestimonial, where everyday drivers share their experiences with products featuring Hest, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Ronald writes in about his 2010 Chevy. Carbon deposits were causing problems with the NOx sensors, which resulted in lower MPG, 21 MPG. After using Berryman's B12 Chem tool, MPG is now in the 29 to 30 range. Learn more about Berryman products and their Hest technology at berrymanproducts.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grown, now you're here.